The radar screen flickered with an impossible signature. Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Reeves leaned closer to the display at Nelly's Air Force Base, his coffee growing cold as he watched the blip materialize from nothing. The contact appeared 30 miles northwest of restricted airspace, moving at subsonic speed with a flight pattern that made his stomach tighten. No filed flight plan, no transponder code, no radio contact. Kingfisher Control, we have an unidentified aircraft entering Sector 7, came the voice of Captain Riley Torch Martinez from his F-22 Raptor, call sign Viper 1. His aircraft sliced through the Nevada sky at Angels 20, leading a formation of 4 Raptors on what should have been a routine training exercise. Reeves grabbed his headset. Viper 1, Kingfisher. Vector 270, investigate and identify. Rules of engagement, Charlie. The mysterious aircraft wasn't responding to any frequency. It flew with an almost casual indifference to the military jets converging on its position, maintaining steady altitude and course. Through his HUD, Martinez caught his first visual of the intruder, a sleek, single-engine fighter that shouldn't exist in civilian hands. Kingfisher, Viper 1 has visual. Aircraft appears to be a modified F-16, but the configuration is unusual. Martinez's voice carried confusion. The jet before him bore no national markings, its matte gray finish seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. Attempting radio contact on guard frequency. The radio crackled with silence. What Martinez couldn't see from his position was the pilot inside that mysterious cockpit. Commander Avalon Ghost, Sinclair, adjusted her grip on the stick with practiced ease, her weathered hands steady despite the 4 Raptors now forming an intercept pattern around her. The HUD reflection caught the edge of a scar running from her left temple to her jawline, a reminder of a night over Afghanistan that officially never happened. She'd been flying for 18 hours straight, pushing her modified Falcon to its limits across 3 time zones. The aircraft beneath her was a ghost itself, rebuilt from salvaged parts and powered by an engine that existed only in classified documents. Every rivet had been placed by her own hands during 2 years of exile in a hangar outside Tucson, where the military had forgotten she existed. The irony wasn't lost on her. The same Air Force that had stripped her wings was now scrambling million-dollar fighters to intercept her return. Ghost allowed herself a thin smile as she watched the lead Raptor adjust its position. She recognized the flying style, aggressive but controlled, textbook intercept procedure with just enough flair to suggest the pilot was young and eager to prove himself. Through her headset, she could hear their chatter on the tactical frequency, voices tight with professional tension. They had no idea who they were hunting. Martinez pulled his Raptor into a parallel course, close enough to read any tail numbers on the mystery aircraft. What he saw instead made him key his radio immediately. Kingfisher, Viper 1. I'm not seeing any identification on this bird, but there's something about the rudder movement, the way she's handling control inputs. The formation tightened around Ghost's aircraft like a mechanical ballet, each Raptor maintaining precise spacing, while their pilots tried to solve the puzzle of who was flying the impossible jet. Ghost watched their movements with professional appreciation. These weren't weekend warriors. They flew with the confidence of pilots who'd seen real combat. Unknown aircraft, this is United States Air Force. You are in violation of restricted airspace. Identify yourself immediately and follow our heading to Nelly's Air Force Base for landing. Martinez's voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. Ghost's finger hovered over her radio transmit button. She could end this standoff with a single word, but something held her back. These pilots needed to earn their knowledge of who she was. The sky had always been her teacher, and today it would teach them something about assumptions. Instead of responding, she executed a maneuver that should have been impossible for an F-16. The aircraft rolled inverted and pulled into a vertical climb that defied its supposed thrust-to-weight ratio. then snapped into a hammerhead turn that left the pursuing Raptors scrambling to maintain visual contact. "Jesus Christ," whispered Captain Jennifer Blade Chen, flying Viper 3. "Did you see that rate of climb? That's not standard F-16 performance." Martinez felt sweat bead on his forehead despite his cooling system. The mystery pilot wasn't just evading, she was demonstrating capabilities that shouldn't exist. Each maneuver was precise, economical, and executed with a smoothness that spoke of thousands of flight hours. This wasn't some rogue pilot joyriding in stolen aircraft. This was someone who understood flight at a fundamental level. "Viper flight, maintain formation," Martinez ordered, though his confidence was wavering. "Kingfisher, recommend we get some background on any missing aircraft. This pilot knows what she's doing." In the darkened command center at Nellie's, Colonel Reeves was already pulling up classified databases. Missing aircraft reports, theft notifications, anything that might explain how a civilian had gotten their hands on what was clearly a military-grade fighter. His fingers paused over the keyboard as a thought struck him. The flying style Martinez was describing seemed familiar, though he couldn't place why. Ghost leveled her aircraft at 25,000 feet, the Raptors spread around her in a diamond formation. She could feel their tension through the radio silence, could imagine the conversations happening on their internal comm channels. They were good pilots, but they were thinking inside the box of regulations and procedures. They couldn't conceive of someone who'd helped write those very procedures being the one to break them. The fuel gauge showed she had perhaps 30 minutes of flight time remaining, enough to make her point, but not enough to play games indefinitely. Through her canopy, she could see the lead Raptor pilot's helmet turning toward her, his body language suggesting frustration mixed with growing respect for her flying ability. Martinez made a decision that would change everything. Instead of another intercept attempt, he pulled his Raptor into a loose formation position off Ghost's right wing, not aggressive, but close enough to observe. "Unknown pilot, I don't know who you are, but you fly like someone who's been where we've been. If you can hear this transmission, I'm requesting you acknowledge. We're not here to be your enemy." Ghost felt something shift in her chest. The young pilot's words carried a note of respect that she hadn't heard directed at her in 3 years. She studied his aircraft through her peripheral vision, noting the way he held position with unconscious skill. This one had seen combat. She could tell by the micro-adjustments he made to maintain formation in the thin air. For the first time in the engagement, she keyed her radio. Her voice, when it came, was steady and clear. "Viper 1, this is Ghost. I'm not your enemy either, but I'm not ready to land just yet." The radio exploded with activity. 4 pilots talking at once, ground control demanding identification, and through it all, Martinez's voice cutting through the chaos. "Ghost, that's not possible. Ghost is dead." The word hung in the air like a challenge. "Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated." In the command center, Colonel Reeves felt the blood drain from his face. He knew that call sign, knew the voice, though it had been years since he'd heard it. His hands flew to his secure phone as he realized the magnitude of what was happening in his airspace. Avalon Sinclair wasn't just alive, she was flying again. Martinez struggled to process what he was hearing. Every pilot in the Air Force knew the story of Ghost, though most thought it was legend mixed with classification. The pilot who'd single-handedly held a defensive position over a downed rescue helicopter in Afghanistan. The woman who'd been shot down behind enemy lines and walked out 3 days later. The officer who'd been quietly retired after asking too many questions about a mission that had gone wrong. "Ghost, if you're really who you claim to be, then you know you're flying in restricted airspace without authorization. I have orders to escort you to the ground." "I know exactly where I am, Viper 1. Her voice carried a weight that made Martinez feel like a student again. "And I know you have your orders, but sometimes orders and justice don't align perfectly." Ghost banked her aircraft slightly, and Martinez caught a glimpse of something painted on the fuselage. Not letters or numbers, but a small symbol that made his breath catch. A ghost figure riding a missile, the unofficial squadron patch of the 421st Fighter Squadron, a unit that had been disbanded 5 years ago after a classified incident. Viper 2, do you see that marking? Martinez transmitted to his wingman, Captain David Razor Brooks. Copy, lead. That's 421st Squadron. Weren't they the ones involved in that thing over Pakistan? The thing over Pakistan was how they referred to an incident that existed only in whispers and redacted reports. A mission where an entire squadron had been lost to friendly fire, except for one pilot who'd managed to return with intelligence that had prevented a larger disaster. That pilot had been credited with saving hundreds of lives, then quietly disappeared from active duty. Ghost listened to their radio chatter with grim satisfaction. They were starting to piece together the truth, though they only had fragments of the whole picture. The real story was worse than they imagined. Not just friendly fire, but deliberate targeting by their own forces to cover up an intelligence failure that went to the highest levels of command. Kingfisher Control, Viper 1. Request permission to escort Ghost to Nellie's for debrief. This situation is above my pay grade. Negative, Viper 1. Your orders remain unchanged. If the unknown aircraft does not comply with landing instructions, you are authorized to use necessary force. Martinez felt sick. The voice from Kingfisher wasn't Colonel Reeves anymore. Someone higher up the chain had taken control of the situation. Someone who knew exactly who Ghost was and wanted her silenced permanently. Ghost, did you copy that transmission? I copy, Viper 1. And I want you to know that whatever happens next, it's not personal. You're good pilots, all of you. Don't let them tell you otherwise. Ghost's aircraft suddenly accelerated, not away from the formation but deeper into restricted airspace, toward the classified test ranges where prototype weapons were evaluated. Martinez realized with growing horror that she wasn't trying to escape, she was heading toward something specific. All Vipers stay with her. Do not engage unless fired upon. Viper 1, Kingfisher Control. You are ordered to terminate the intercept if Ghost crosses into Charlie airspace. Those are direct orders from Nevada Command. Martinez found himself at the crossroads every military pilot dreaded, the moment when orders conflicted with conscience. Ghost was flying toward a restricted zone that would give whoever was controlling this situation legal justification to shoot her down without questions. But something about her behavior suggested she knew exactly what she was doing. Ghost, you're approaching a hard boundary. Turn back now. Can't do that, Viper 1. There's something in Charlie airspace that belongs to me. Something they took when they decided I was too inconvenient to keep around. Through his HUD, Martinez watched as Ghost's aircraft began a shallow dive toward a cluster of buildings barely visible on the horizon. The restricted facility there was so classified that even his security clearance didn't cover whatever went on inside its hangars. Viper Flight, this is General Patricia Harrison, Nevada Command. You are ordered to engage the hostile aircraft immediately. This is not a drill. Martinez felt his world tilt. General Harrison was a name that carried weight throughout the Air Force, a woman who'd risen through the ranks by making hard decisions without flinching. If she was personally ordering them to shoot down Ghost, then the situation was even more complex than he'd realized. General Harrison, Viper 1. Request confirmation of engagement order. Pilot has identified herself as Commander Avalon Sinclair, calling Ghost. The radio went silent for long seconds. When Harrison's voice returned, it carried a coldness that made Martinez's skin crawl. Commander Sinclair is listed as killed in action 3 years ago. You are engaging a hostile aircraft flown by an unknown pilot using stolen credentials. Terminate immediately. Ghost's voice cut through the command channel with crystal clarity. Patricia, is that you? Still making other people clean up your messes, I see. The familiarity in Ghost's tone sent shockwaves through the formation. This wasn't just about unauthorized airspace. There was personal history here, old wounds that had never healed. Unknown pilot, you are ordered to land immediately or face the consequences. The consequences, Ghost laughed, and the sound was bitter. Patricia, I already faced your consequences. They left me for dead in a cave in Afghanistan while you got promoted for my mission reports. But here's the thing about ghosts, we don't stay buried. Martinez exchanged glances with his wingman, though neither could see the other through their canopies. They were caught in the middle of something much larger than an airspace violation. This was about justice deferred and secrets that someone was willing to kill to protect. Ghost's aircraft dropped to 500 feet above the desert floor, using the terrain to mask her approach to the classified facility. Her flying was aggressive now, no longer the controlled demonstration of skill, but the purposeful movements of someone with a specific objective. She's heading for Hangar 7, Captain Chen observed from Viper 3. Whatever's in there, she knows exactly where to find it. Martinez made a decision that would define the rest of his career. Instead of engaging, he pulled his formation into an escort position around Ghost's aircraft. Viper flight, maintain distance but do not engage. Repeat, do not engage. Viper 1, this is Nevada Command. You are in direct violation of orders. Stand down immediately. Negative, Nevada Command. I'm exercising pilot discretion under combat protocols. This situation requires clarification before weapons release. Martinez knew he was ending his career with those words, but something about Ghost's story felt true in a way that official orders did not. Every instinct honed by years of combat told him that the real enemy wasn't in the aircraft he was supposed to shoot down. Ghost keyed her radio one final time as the restricted facility loomed ahead. Viper 1, there's a hangar down there containing evidence of what really happened to my squadron. Someone's been using our deaths to cover up weapons sales to foreign nationals. I'm going to make sure that evidence sees daylight. The pieces clicked together in Martinez's mind. The 421st Squadron's mysterious destruction, Ghost's supposed death, the classified facility they were approaching. It all pointed to a conspiracy that reached deep into the military hierarchy. Ghost, there has to be another way to do this. There was another way, Viper 1. I tried it for 3 years. Filed reports, followed channels, played by their rules. Know what happened? They classified everything and buried it deeper. Sometimes the only way to serve your country is to disobey your superiors. Ghost's F-16 leveled out 50 feet above the runway at the classified facility, her landing gear extending as she committed to a landing that would either vindicate her or end her life. The 4 Raptors formed a protective diamond around her approach, their pilots having made the conscious decision to trust a Ghost over their own command structure. As Ghost's aircraft touched down on the forbidden runway, Martinez realized that some battles couldn't be won in the sky. The real fight was just beginning, and it would be fought with documents and testimony rather than missiles and guns. But for the first time in 3 years, Avalon Sinclair wouldn't be fighting alone. The Ghost had returned, and she'd brought the truth with her.